All right, and if I am not mistaken, this is now me live. Who starts their live streams on time? This guy does. Hello, everybody. So welcome to the first live stream that I have done on my YouTube channel in quite some time. I think it's been over a year at this point. Clearly, I have been posting a tutorial every single day for the past like 2.5 weeks and everything, and there's more to come both tomorrow and Friday, but also because I've been seeing so many people doing live streams on Facebook and Instagram, I also wanted to go ahead and give you all a bit of a live experience too. So I'm here to take your questions about poi and flow arts and life in general, and hopefully we will all have a good time this evening. If you would like to help me out and help out the channel and everything, the super chat function is enabled on my channel, so you can donate a little to help keep the channel alive if you would like to. But yeah, so I'm going to kind of let you all start throwing questions at me, and I will do my best to answer them in the order that they come in. If somebody sends me a super chat, I will bounce your question to the top of the heap and everything, and then try and come back and go through one by one and get back on track and everything, yeah? It's a lot easier for me when I'm working in a format that I know is going to be edited, but like doing this live is a little bit more difficult because it's all off the top of my head and everything. So we'll see how this goes for us, yeah. I'm going to give just like a couple more minutes for people to start letting their questions come in and everything. Just to let you all know where I am at, I live in a suburb of Washington, D.C. It's called Tacoma Park. Actually, the line the line between Maryland and D.C. is, I think, 100 feet in that direction. So, yeah, I'm pretty close to D.C. Functionally, I'm basically working in the district and everything. And D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, of course, all have stay-at-home orders that started up just a couple days ago. And somewhat sad, I guess, is that it's actually had very little impact on like my day-to-day life, just because normally I work from home, I create my content myself and everything. So aside from going to the grocery store and going out to see friends maybe 1 or 2 days a week, there's really not that big a difference to me. I'm still trying to figure out how I should feel about that. Anyway, so I am doing great. I hope that you all are doing great as well. I hope that you all are staying healthy. And I'm going to go start diving into these questions because I see that several of them have started to come on in. And keep them coming, keep them coming. So first up, Breeze Games says, "Hey Drex." Hey Breeze Games. DRGDFHG, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, says, "Hello, hi there." Name that I'm not going to pronounce. Brandon Hanlon says, "Hey everybody, and what are your favorite practice drills for ambidexterity?" Oh, that's a great question. So, when it comes to evening out your two sides, and the lag on my monitoring is probably going to be just a few seconds here, so I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to stay in frame. One of my favorite things to build ambidexterity is actually working with each hand doing stalls. There's something about the fine motor control that you need in order to do stalls that is really, really great for evening out your ability to do different tricks across your different hands and everything, right? So, oh, I forgot to turn this on. There we go. Yay, so now I'm actually fully lit. Yeah, so doing, if you do the stall box with each hand, the down, up, top, up, down, bottom, bottom, and then of course with the other hand, going down, up, top, up, down, bottom, bottom, and then start working with them together. Down, up, top, top, up, down, bottom, bottom. It will do a lot to even out your hands. And also, of course, like whenever you learn a new trick or a new drill, make sure that you're doing it with both hands. It's super important. Great question. Again, the name that I am not going to try and pronounce. Hello, Mr. Fire Nerd. Hello, I will take that title. Robert Chambers says, hey, Drex. Hello, Robert Chambers. Mateus Lemarski, I think, says hi. Hello, Mateus. Sean Kim says, hey, Drex, what do you think about glow stringing? I think glow stringing is really cool. It's really interesting to me because, like, I feel like Poi is an art form that's kind of built around having a personal bubble around you, and you can eat up space a little bit, whereas glow stringing is an art that's really based around kind of having a limited space to work in and having to share that space with others. And so I think because of that, the two have overlaps, certainly, but it leads to slightly different emphasis on what each art does. Like, flowers don't show up that much in glow stringing, whereas you have tons of wraps. And especially because so many of us that spin Poi are kind of training for fire and everything, we don't do a lot of wraps ourselves. There are some exceptions, of course, but no, I think glow stringing is cool. The one thing that throws me with it is just because the glow string, the glow sticks that you use and everything are so light. They're not very heavy. It's really, really difficult for me to get used to spinning them just because I'm used to the weight of normal Poi and everything. But I enjoy seeing people do glow stringing. I think it looks really cool. And quite a number of people that originally taught me how to spin Poi or that I respect a lot had their kind of start in the glow stringing world. So yeah, I think glow stringing is pretty cool. Oh goodness. So Brandon Hanlon says, thank you so much for the COVID videos. You are so welcome, Brandon. Yeah, this has been such the project. For those of you that don't know, generally speaking, I only produce about 2 videos a week that are kind of that high level of production where I'm doing a lot of editing and there's like a formal lesson that I'm teaching and everything. So right now I am producing more than double the amount of content that I usually do, and fortunately there have been enough lessons learned from doing several series, say that 10 times fast, over the course of the past 6 months that I've been able to keep up that pace, and it helps that I'm doing it cross-platform. So thank you so much for appreciating that, and thank you for participating in it too, because really the point is to get you all out there spinning. So yeah, keep on watching them and keep on working on it, yeah? Let's see here, DRGD, the name I'm not going to pronounce. I want to tell you one big thank you very much for all the things that you're doing. You're so welcome. It is my pleasure. Trivia Time, that's a great name, says, this is cool, never watched you in real time. Hello, that's because I very rarely do this in real time. So I very, very frequently blow my lines when I'm recording videos. So having only one take at something is something that's a little bit intimidating for me and definitely outside my comfort zone. So I very, very rarely do live streams, but you never know. Maybe the way that this whole thing works out with quarantine and everything, I'll do it more often, and I'll be able to connect with you all a little bit more directly in the future. Yeah. Cool. Toby McDowell says, hi Drex, I wanted to say you've been an inspiration to me over the last year of my Poi spinning journey. Oh, that's good to hear, Toby. I would, I definitely, I appreciate knowing that I have been an inspiration to you, and it is my hope that over the course of your spinning journey, you become an inspiration to yourself. Like, really, one of the big reasons that I do this is that I want people to come to discover the abilities that they have to be able to do things that they thought were impossible or find their own means of expression and everything. So I hope that that becomes a part of your journey. Yeah. Thanks, Toby. Justin Jones says, "How's the quarantine life, brother?" It's fine, honestly. Again, I like it. I don't know whether I should consider it like kind of slightly disturbing or like cool, but you know, there's not that big a difference in my daily schedule. You know, I spend a lot of time alone, just kind of thinking about like content to create and everything, and not a whole lot of that has changed. I am, of course, worried, as most people are, about what the future of this looks like. I've spent so much time thinking about, you know, what can we expect to have happen in the coming months and everything, and what are the things that I'd be doing to make sure that I'm on top of whatever changes might be coming our way and everything. So that is definitely a cause for concern for me. But you know, my ritual of creating content and then at night I'll binge watch something hasn't changed all that much. And you know, I'm keeping up with friends and everything over Zoom and all that. So yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Sean Kim says, "Wait, are you in Maryland?" Yeah, Tacoma Park. I'm in the DMV. Maryland is bigger than just the DMV, but I am in the DMV. Divine Discovery says, "You are amazing, Drex. You've really helped me occupy myself and get back into my poi practice." That makes me so happy to hear. I want people to stay on board with this. I want people to keep on exploring what they can do with their poi. So yeah, I'm excited that you're back practicing again. Keep up the good work. Gearhead90 says, hello Gearhead90. Toby McDowell says, "Could you help me understand how to consistently exit orbitals?" Yeah, I can absolutely do that. So, here's the trick with orbitals. They're actually the same thing as hyperloops, yeah? So, if you have not learned hyperloops yet, now's the time that you get on that. So you know how when you exit a hyperloop, there's like a certain order that the poi have to go in order to like untangle successfully? So when I'm tangling over on my left-hand side, which is usual, it's my right-hand poi that has to exit first, right? It's going to be exactly the same with orbitals. So when I get an orbital going, this is also, I'm going to fill you in on a little secret here. To exit an orbital, what I do is I'll actually let my hands come back together to slow it down so that I can see where the exit is going to be. And every once in a while it still fails, but like pull the orbital, and then if I let it out loose, timing does not always work, but let it out loose, and that's embarrassing. So what keeps happening here is when I let it out, it tangles around one of the poi heads here. But there we go. By and large, if you let them come back out, you'll be able to see how you can exit it. And I'm doing a really exaggerated version of it here because I keep tangling. But like, I'm basically pushing my my handles back together in order to see where that exit is going to be, and that's what helps me do it. Another pro tip: whenever I perform an orbital on stage, I always do it from the side, so the audience can't see me doing that work on the other side. And you know, there we go. It becomes one of those things that is just performer magic. You know, you get the moment, and then you get the exit moment, right? That is really one of those things that is kind of best seen in slow-mo on first-person POV perspective and everything. You know, it's one of those things that if you go back and check out some of my older tutorials on the topic, especially my 1-minute tutorial, I believe that there is there is a POV shot of the exit, and that should help you out. Yeah? Cool. Good question. Let's see here. Robert Chambers says, hey Drex, how can I cleanly exit a tangle in wall plane? There's a lot of questions tonight about tangles. That's really interesting. It's always fascinating to me to find out what people are really interested in digging in on, because like there are definitely things that I know that I'm interested in, and knowing what's out there in the wider world is sometimes it's a question that I ponder on occasion and try and get the temperature of. But apparently tangles are the thing right now, so works for me. All right, so wall plane tangles. So I'm going to do this at an angle so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. The secret to exiting a wall plane tangle is to realize that it's almost like an accordion. So when the poi come together, they're at an angle like this. Yeah, so they're kind of like they're angled away from you. In order to successfully exit, you have to fold those planes in so that they're angled back towards you. So away from you, towards you. Yeah? You'll see what I'm talking about right here. I bring them together and then exit out. Bring them together, exit out. Whenever I'm performing a wall plane tangle like that, what I'm really doing is I'm kind of pulling the plane of the poi back towards myself. So think that like you're kind of almost trying to scratch your belly with each of the pois that come through. You know, they start away, pull them towards. They start away, pull them towards. Again, at an angle, start away, pull them towards. And gravity is not helping me here. Start away, pull them towards. Start away, pull them towards. Yeah, and that really is what makes this successful. When I first started learning how to do this, I had a bad tendency of keeping the planes out away from me, and because of that, they would never exit the tangle, right? We've all run into that before. Figuring out that I needed to make that angle change was the thing that really cracked the code for me. So look out for that in your own work. And just like with the orbital, I did a 1-minute tutorial on air wraps way back in the day, and you should go check that out and yeah, see from a first-person perspective, a POV shot of what that looks like, and it should help out a lot. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Robert. Metro Zero says, yes, please talk about exiting orbitals. Gotcha. Sean Kim says, oh, look, it's Alan. Oh, okay, now I understand what was going on here. Cool. Poitravert says, hi, Drex. Thank you for doing the live streaming and everything you do for the Poi and Flow world. You're so welcome, Poitravert. It is my pleasure. There's definitely a lot to do. Like, it's weird because I feel like I never run out of ideas with Poi, and on occasion I've thought about expanding the channel to other tools like Hoop and Staff and everything. And like, you know, number one, I just love Poi. I love going deep on it, and I feel like I've gone deeper on Poi than most people do on any other tool. And there's something about continually finding new challenges in it that like just motivates me a lot more than trying to pick up new tools and everything. So yeah, I've thought on occasion about just turning my channel into a general flow arts channel, and sometimes I do content that's related to generalized flow arts. But you know, it's one of those things that I never run out of ideas for Poi, and so it just makes very little sense to me to move on to something else. I'm not sure how I got on that tangent. Thanks for the question, Poi, or thank you for thanking me, Poitravert, I guess. Lexi Nichelle says, I struggle with orbitals for sure. Advice, I can do spiral wraps. There's not a whole lot that is similar in the mechanics of orbitals and spiral wraps. I'm not sure what specifically you're struggling with. If you can give me a more specific question there, it would definitely help me out. But yeah, basically there's three pieces to the orbitals. Number one is you've got to figure out hyperloops. I've known people that have gotten into orbitals without learning hyperloops. Learn your hyperloops first, because like seriously, in terms of finding that exit, the hyperloop is going to teach you how to do it. Number two is figuring out, like, once you enter that nexus and everything, how to find that equilibrium of force on each side of the handle to keep it moving. And of course, the final piece is figuring out how to do the exit once you have entered and exited the little nexus point there. Yeah. DRGDFHG. Again, I'm not going to try and pronounce it. Do you have yourself a personal schedule? Yeah, sort of. Like, there's always some variability in my schedule, but like, so by and large, here is how the content that I've created over the course of the last 2.5 weeks has worked. I started off by writing out everything that I wanted to teach people, and then coming up with a schedule for the next four weeks after I was writing it out and everything, that was going to group together similar things. And what I'll do is I will basically record all the videos together on a Friday afternoon, and I will then start. I'll been trying to give myself a day off on Saturday, and results have been mixed on that because I'm kind of a workaholic. But I'll try and give myself a day off on Saturday, and then come back to edit on Sunday. And I'll try and basically I try and work in batch, where I will do all the editing on all the audio together, and then I will create project files for all the different videos at the same time, and drop in and sync up the audio and everything. And then right off the bat, I will edit the first video of the week, publish, put that up on YouTube and set things to publish and everything. And then I'll come back on Monday and promote that first video and edit as many of the other videos as I possibly can. I just uploaded the last video for this week earlier today, so it kind of bleeds over across the days and everything. But like, I have a regular routine, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right when I wake up, I'll go run for like 2 or 3 miles and come home and stretch, and then get started with my workday and everything. I'll try and answer messages. I'm really bad about that, but I'm trying to get better at it. And then, I do my best to, it's usually about 8 o'clock at night is when I stop working, and I try to just like have that be it. And I'll like have a show I watch, or go and do something out in the wider world, which more often than not lately has been Zoom meetings instead. So we try and keep a regular schedule. I hope that comes close to answering that question. Yeah. Charlotte Cherub says, hi. Do you much performing at music festivals or other events? I'm based in Australia, but often go to events in Europe. Would love to catch a class of yours sometime. Hi, Charlotte. So the short answer is a little bit, not much. I have only maybe once or twice in my entire life performed at a music festival. And generally speaking, it was not something that I set up myself. It was something that somebody asked me to participate in. So, like, I don't like EDM, and a lot of the music festivals out there are centered around EDM. So I tend not to have a great time when, like, I'm, out there camping and eating out of, a can for, 2 or 3 days, and I'm not really that into the music and everything. But there's a music festival down further in Virginia called Floyd Fest that is a bluegrass and sometimes rock festival, and I've performed there a couple times, and I've really enjoyed it. Fun fact, I have actually performed as a musician at Floyd Fest. I play bass, and a friend of mine who's a folk singer brought me in as part of her backing band 3-ish years ago, and I got to perform on stage at Floyd Fest, which that's definitely a bucket list thing that I've gotten to do at this point. I'll never say never, but it's got to be the right offer. Like, at this point, I don't just do it for the fun of it anymore. They're like, I'm getting to be old enough that I don't want to sleep in a tent, and the right offer's got to be on the table and everything. I was happy to go and like play bass for my friend and everything, but in terms of performing, just in general, I don't really get that much of a rush out of performing personally. I like teaching more, so yeah, for the most part, if you're going to catch me at a festival, it's probably going to be a flow festival in the United States. But I am, so one of the goals for this year was for me to do my own workshop tours through Europe, which clearly that's not happening at this point. Um, but hopefully I can do it maybe next year. Like I want to try the UK first. I, I almost did that last year and then decided to push it to this year. Not a great plan on my part. Um, but yeah, I'm hopefully going to create a workshop tour in Europe next year, so keep your eyes open for that one. Thank you for the question. Let's see here. Kurt Hobbs says, I bought a 6-pack of Poi from Flow Toys for my family so they can participate in your COVID-19 videos. Yes! One of us! One of us! Yeah, get them all started. I'm very, very happy to hear that. That makes me so happy. Yeah, and please post video. I want to see a whole family spinning together. That like is that makes my heart very full. Brandon Hanlon asks, "What is your favorite prop?" If it's Poi, it's definitely Poi. What is your second favorite? Probably double staff. Like double staff is probably the one that I've gone deepest into aside from Poi. And this is really embarrassing. I don't think I've picked up my staves now in over a year. Which it's not like there hasn't been stuff out there that is really interesting to me. I haven't felt the urge, and there's been so much stuff that I want to do with Poi in the meantime that it's I just haven't gone beyond it. In case anybody's curious, the other props that I spend besides Poi and double staff are I hoop. Nobody ever gets to see me hoop, but I hoop. I guess you could say like I do some meteor as well. I've tried contact staff once or twice, and it just doesn't compute for me. So, yeah. Lexi Nichelle says, thank you so much for all the time you put into this. My pleasure. I would love to attend a class sometime in person. I'm in Wisconsin. Outstanding. I want to do more workshop tours, and going up through Wisconsin and Minnesota are definitely on the list of places that I want to go when I get the chance. Sammy McDaniel says, for beginner, how do we get our brains to connect to help the arms flow? I love your hair, by the way. Oh, thank you. I meant to get a haircut in March, and for obvious reasons, it didn't happen. And now I'm kind of dreading what it's going to look like at the end of April. I have such an awful habit. So I don't like having short hair. I always prefer like having like a handful of it that I can mess around with. And also like I kind of like having bangs to hide behind. That may be like just former emo boy shit there, but yeah, we'll see what it's looking like at the end of April. Yeah, so how a beginner should learn to help them take their Poi spinning to the next level. So straight up, and like, so spoilers, a lot of the videos that I'm doing for this COVID-19 thing are based on an idea that I have for a new way of teaching beginners. I personally think that we ought to start beginners off on doing things that they can treat the Poi as extensions of their arms, you know? I think that doing that is way more helpful because intuitively we already have a sense with our arms of how to keep them from hitting us and also plane control, you know? Like, I can get somebody to do this really, really easily, but if I tell them, hey, do a butterfly for me, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to hit themselves, right? But if you make that butterfly part of the experience of like, oh, well, these are basically just doing the exact same thing that my arms are doing, and gradually working your way down to just doing it with the Poi, I think that it's a much smoother and much more intuitive experience. So I would say as a beginner, start off with flowers and extensions, straight up. Get your flowers and extensions down, learn how to do your stalls, and like that right there, I think, not only is it going to teach you good habits down the road, but it is also going to give you more control to start with, yeah? Your arms, you already have great kinetic awareness of your arms, so the more that you can make the Poi extensions of your arms, the better, yeah? And like, I've had it in my head for a while to create a new online course centered around that idea, and hey, maybe this is my opportunity to do it during the outbreak and everything, so we'll see. Oh, there's lots more comments now. Gearhead 90 says, what is a good combo beginners should learn to help them take their poi spinning to the next level? The combo that I am putting out on Friday, be on the lookout for it. It takes bits and pieces of all the material that I've been teaching over the course of the past 3 weeks. So there's reels in there, there's flowers in there, there's pendulums in there. Oh, hey, somebody left me a super chat. Thank you so much, whoever that was. That means so much. Oh, it's Kurt Hobbs. Thank you, sir. But yeah, it's one of those things that yeah, look out for the combo on Friday, and that will put together all those different pieces and everything. If you want, I can give you a quick preview, and if you want to see that, ask in the chat and everything. In the meantime, I'm going to see what Kurt Hobbs had to say here. It would be first up, thank you, Kurt. It would be cool to possibly see some future videos of top 5 wow factor crowd pleasing moves, or maybe top 5 black magic combos transitions. That's such a great idea, Kurt. So spoilers, well, not really spoilers, but so the videos that I do that are like, you know, top 5 X kind of tricks and everything actually came out of doing one of these live chats. There was somebody who asked me what my top 5 beginner tricks were, and I'm like, that is such a great question, and that should be a video in its own right. And every single one of those videos I've done since has been me just, because so many people asked afterwards, like, can you do top 5 intermediate tricks? I'm just kind of like, I don't know that that makes that much sense, because everybody's going to have their own impression of what intermediate tricks are. But I can give you like top 5 contact poi tricks, or I can give you, you know, top 5 body tracers and everything. And that's been kind of the philosophy that's been undergirding it ever since. But top 5 wow factor and top 5 black magic combos, I love that. I am totally going to hook up both of those videos. I'm going to write that down right now. If you guys want more information on my process here and everything, so I use an app called Trello to keep track of all of my ideas. I can access it via browser or on my phone. So there's like a little cardboard in here, or a little board of cards that I use for writing down every idea. So I'm going to write that down right quick, because that's brilliant. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you both for the super chat as well as for the fantastic idea. Do you all want to see top 5 wow factor? Let me know in the chat. Top 5 wow factor and top 5 black magic. Those aren't necessarily the same thing, but like, I can definitely think off the top of my head of 5 tricks that I just straight up think are made of pure black magic. That would be really fun to structure that video around. What a great idea. I love it. Cool. So, getting back up here. And again, if anybody else wants to help out the channel, there's the super chat function and everything. And as you saw, I will jump straight to your question when it comes in. Thank you again, Kurt, for doing that. Stephanie Rayner says, just ordered myself my first pair of poi as well, ePoi from Amazon. Fantastic. How much room would you recommend for practicing floor and ceiling clearance? Should I just go outside? Not necessarily. So, I'm 6 feet tall. My ceilings are 8 foot. I hit my poi on the ceilings constantly. In fact, I wish I could show you this, but you can see the spot on my ceiling right where I usually stand when I'm recording my videos, because it's got like a bunch of marks on it and everything, places where I ding the ceiling. I'm going to say have at least 2 feet of clearance above your head. My guess is that you will almost certainly have more clearance than I do in this room, so you're probably good. Just keep your poi short. I usually when I'm recording my videos, I'll wrap my poi around my first 2 fingers in order to shorten them up just slightly, which I very frequently do that anyway when I'm dancing with my poi, just to make them more responsive. But yeah, at least 2 feet of clearance above your head, you should be golden. Now, you'll have plenty of room to work with there. But also, too, I don't want to dissuade you from going outside, because part of the joy of poi is having an excuse to go outside at least once a day, you know? Jamar Jr. says, is there a reliable exit from orbitals? No. No matter how much you practice, you will always find at some point there's an exit that just won't happen. It is just a part of life, and the fact that the human brain can only understand it's something that's moving so fast and everything. Bringing your hands together to slow it down into a hyperloop is the most reliable way that I know to spot the exit. But as you saw, sometimes it doesn't work. Stephanie Raymer asks, and spin, or would I be okay in my living room or empty spare room? Probably both. I have practiced everywhere from like parking garages to basements and my living room, of course. So, you know, the important part is that you do the practice. Like, don't let the room be the reason that you don't get that practice in. Find some way that you can clear out a bubble for yourself and work with it. Like, the practice is the important thing. And if for whatever reason you're not comfortable doing big tricks in that space, don't do the big tricks. Keep it all on like weaves and butterflies and everything, because like the relationship that you create with the poi is far more important than the size of the space around you. Cool. Poitravert says, he is right. I know orbitals, but can't figure out hyperloops for the life of me. Soon I shall have them. Yeah, you're not the first person that I've met that learned orbitals before hyperloops. Seriously, if you want to exit orbitals cleanly, learn your hyperloops. I cannot overemphasize this. Yeah, great. Carrie Messamore says, what is your process or inspiration for choreographing new routines? I love your video dancing by myself, as I can tell you were feeling it. I was so feeling that. So none of that was choreographed. That was all just straight up me flowing to a song that I really like. And being able to flow well and dance well has been probably my big focus for like the past 2 or 3 years. And the good news about that is that I'm finally starting to see things that I like and that I'm proud of as a result of that. So that has been very gratifying. I do, however, do choreography. And it the inspiration really depends. You know, there's a piece that, so I help run the Fire Conclave that's based in Washington, D.C. that goes to Burning Man and everything. And this year, our conclave piece is centered around an idea that kind of came out of a conversation between myself and the 2 other women that are leading the troupe, Carly and Amon. And we started talking about the idea of the multiverse, because that's the Burning Man theme this year. And it made me think about this Jet Li movie called The One, and how I really hate the ending of it, because, spoilers, in it, Jet Li plays himself across multiple parallel universes and everything, and one version of him is evil, and the evil version goes around killing his doubles in other universes, basically because then all of their energy and strength all filters together into him, and he becomes stronger and more powerful and everything. And in the course of the movie, we meet a good version that is like a cop set in our universe. And he's happily married and everything. And part of how it's established that this is evil Jet Li is that he murders good Jet Li's wife. At the very, very end of the movie, good Jet Li is sent to this like paradise universe where it turns out there's a double of his wife that is still alive, and he begins their relationship anew. And I think that that is totally whack, because this person may have the same face that his wife did, but she's had a completely different life. She has had completely different sets of experiences, and therefore, in my personal opinion, he's basically meeting a brand new person, and there's something really messed up to me about that dynamic. And so we actually wrote this entire story that we've been turning into choreography about something similar happening, about, you know, a double coming from a parallel universe and meeting their double and killing their significant other, and then the good double goes and finds the double of their significant other in another universe, and they're rejected by that double because that's a different person. So that's been the inspiration for that. The piece that I choreographed before that the inspiration was actually trying to process a lot of emotions around a breakup and everything, which we paid to have like a nicely produced video put together of that routine. And I don't know when or if it's going to see the light of day, but you know, inspiration comes in a variety of different ways. Sometimes it's emotion, sometimes it's a story, but like, you know, you just figure out how to put it in your body. I think that the way to do that is to take dance lessons, honestly. The way I learned it was by learning modern dance and joining a dance troupe here in DC and doing shows with them and everything. And that taught me the techniques that I've been using to turn what's in my head into choreography. And I'm really glad that you like dancing by myself, because I like it too. The inspiration for that, honestly, was both being in downtown Silver Spring and there being nobody there, which I've never seen before in the 3 or 4 years that I've lived here. And having this really amazing song. That is probably one of my favorite songs of all time, and you know, it got me moving. All right, so DRG, still not going to try and pronounce it, says, wow, thank you very, very much about the schedule tips, Drex. You're welcome. For any of you out there that are content creators, I cannot recommend this enough. Work in batch. It will make your lives so much easier. Cauldron Fitzpatrick says, hey, Drex and all. Hello, Cauldron. Let me grab a little bit of water as I'm doing this, because as you can probably hear, my voice is already getting a little bit raspy. Avery Blasey says, hey, Drex, this isn't a question, but I started spinning like a month ago, and your videos have helped me more than you could know. Thank you so much for making dope videos. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm so glad that they've been helpful. Brandon says, woo, hello. Brandon Hanlon asks, what is your favorite music to flow to? It changes by the day. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was spinning to Sunny Day Real Estate. Sometimes I'll spin to Leo Maracchioli. Today I was spinning to a musician from Los Angeles. She goes by the name Party Nails. I saw her open for Eve 6 back last 2 Decembers ago now. Eve 6 was doing the 20th anniversary tour of their first album, and she was one of the openers, and I just absolutely fell in love with her music, and I totally recommend her to anybody else out there. Especially if you like it when I dance to poppier music, because she's definitely a very poppy artist. But yeah, earlier this afternoon I was just listening to her. I'll sometimes put on the iTunes playlist for alternative replay and just see what's on it. And through that, I've gotten into like 21 Pilots and trying to think what other musicians that's led me to. The National. Recently, I went through a phase where I was listening to a lot of post-punk revival, like, you know, late aughts, so like 2006 to 2009, New York style post-punk music and everything. So like Yeah Yeahs, Interpol. Yeah, I like rock music, post-punk and post-hardcore especially. But yeah, I listen to a variety of things. I just, for some reason, EDM never landed with me. Go figure. Brandon Hanlon also asks, how often do you do workshops? You mean teach them? I've been trying, I set out a goal last year to do 3 workshop tours, and unfortunately the last one of the year fell apart due to scheduling problems. I was supposed to be on a workshop tour at the beginning of March, which I canceled because a close friend of mine died in February, and it like I spent a solid week just not being able to do anything, and so I canceled the tour as a result of that. Which thankfully I hadn't even started on promo for it, so nobody knew that it was a thing. But I had to go around all these venues that I'd spent a month talking to and everything, and being like, I'm sorry, I gotta cancel out of this. So hopefully later on in the year I will get back on the road. If you're asking me how often do I take workshops, generally speaking, if I'm at a fire festival, I will sometimes try and put forth the effort to attend one or more workshops. More often than not, it's to see what other teachers are doing and see if I can see techniques that I think are really interesting, or things that are not working and being like, oh, I probably do this too. and try and correct that in my own teaching and everything. So as often as I can is the short answer. Mateusz Milarski says, I'm Polish, so don't worry about my surname. Thank God. My first name is Matthew. Oh, cool, Matthew. If you do orbital using Poi that have Technora with chain links, can you pull out on handles to regain speed, or will it stop? Yes, you can. I actually prefer to use Technora that have chain links. I have a very, very difficult time being able to land in orbital if the entire tether is Technora, because it doesn't catch. Technora tends to slip across itself. It doesn't have it doesn't have great friction properties. So yeah, I actually prefer it that way. And yes, you can totally regain speed on it, 100%. Stephanie Raymer says, is it easier to learn a new flow art from scratch or to transition to new flow art, staff, fans, etc. after learning Poi? Complicated answer. So every individual prop is going to have its own individual things that are going to be a challenge. And you just have to navigate that. There are some transitions that are easier than others. I would say like fans and triads, most of the knowledge transfers directly across between those. I feel like going from Poi to double staff is a pretty easy transition because with double staff, you're essentially working with a vocabulary that is very, very similar to Poi, but you no longer have to worry about gravity. Yay! Same story with clubs. So I would say Poi to both double staff and clubs is definitely an easy transition. Single staff to double staff is easy. I would say that the biggest difficulties you're going to have are if you start on a static prop, that is something that is rigid and not flexible, and moving to a flexible prop, that's where you're going to have a difficult time. Because all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with gravity in a way that you did not have to before, and that is going to be an adjustment. So, but if you start with a non-rigid / dynamic prop like Poi, you should be able to transition to anything. Although I will also say that having started with Poi and especially started like dancing with Poi and everything, I actually find dancing with other props really boring because the interplay between you and gravity is something that is just really, really engaging to me with Poi, and you don't really get that with a rigid prop. It's too easy in some ways, I think. At least for me. Your mileage may vary. Yeah. Devin Hegger says, hey Drex, I'm struggling to get the timing right on my 5-beat weave. My Poi seem to want to come out at the same time when I switch from one side to the other. Just finished the beginner series and I love it. Excellent, Devin. Yeah, so that's because when you learn how to do a 3-beat weave, you've trained yourself to a particular timing where a particular hand is leading the way from one side to another. Now, when you switch up to a 5-beat weave, your body is still trained to have that original hand leading. The problem is that you need to train it to let the other hand lead now. 9 times out of 10, what's happening there is that the hand that used to be your lead is slowing down because it's expecting to be the one to lead to the other side, and that's when the other Poi catches up to it. So, like, for instance, if I'm going from my right side to my left side, I'm going to find that my right hand Poi slows down just slightly as my left hand's coming over it. If you speed it up a little bit, you might find that you get more separation there. But the biggest thing of all is just to focus on making that left hand the leader then and getting it across. You know, it's just one of those things that you're giving your body new information and it's having to retrain itself. So it's practice. It's practice and really, really think left is the leader now and then right is the leader now. Yeah, that's going to be the key there. Sunless Retaf says, is Retaf father backwards? I think it is. So Sunless Father Backwards says, secret to Gunslinger Hybrids, ? Oh my lord, we could be here the rest of the night. No, okay, I don't know if you're talking specifically about anti-brids. I'm going to assume that you are specifically talking about anti-brids because that's kind of a thing that I specialize in, and it is also the Gunslinger Hybrid that I'm most likely to do. So, here's what I'm going to tell you. The secret to Gunslinger anti-brids is to realize which traditional Poi hybrids they're most like. So, for example, if I'm working with a static spin, most often I'm going to team that up with a triquetra, like so. Now, the counterpart to a triquetra with gunslingers is the 10-pedal gunslinger. That is the one that's a forwards weave on one side and a forwards 2-beat thumb lead on one side and a reverse pinky lead on the other side, yeah? And of course, you're just taking it as a flower. So you work to try and synchronize up your hand with the opposite poi head. I still think that I could do a lot more work in cleaning this up, but for right now, it is at a place where I think I can be comfortable with it. When it comes to, so there's also this anti-grid, which is isolation versus cat-eye. This one is going to work best with a gunslinger that is just the pinky lead reverse that you turn into basically two triquetras together, yeah? Now I've seen so many people that will just basically do this, where they push out both the poi head and their hand at the same time. That's a good first step, but what you have to realize is the move that really works best with this gunslinger is going to be in isolation. So you need to get it down to working inside of the space of an isolation. And again, you have to keep track of where the poi head is in the isolation. Make sure that your hand is following that. And that is how you make that happen. Why is the complement to a triquetra the 10-pedal gunslinger? And why is the complement to the cat-eye a 6-pedal gunslinger? That's two triquetras put together. Math is the short answer. So I did an entire video on this, which I really recommend you all check out. But essentially, a triquetra is a 2 downbeat move. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Despite the fact that there are 3 pedals, there's only 2 spots where the poi head is underneath my hand, right? So when we switch to gunslingers, the poi is half as long, which means that it is spinning twice as fast. This is just law of angular momentum, right? So when that happens, we're looking for a move for each side of the poi that now has 4 downbeats instead of just 2, right? Going twice as fast, so instead of 2 downbeats, it's now 4 downbeats. Well, guess what? A 4 downbeat move is a 5-pedal flower. It's not a pentagram, it is a pentagon, right? So at full length, a 5-pedal flower looks like this. Now when I do that as a gunslinger, it's kind of hard to tell this, but both the thumb end and the pinky end are each performing a 5-pedal flower. So in total it adds up to 10 pedals, right? Likewise, when you work with a cat-eye, there's only 1 downbeat. There's only 1 point at which the poi is below your hand. So when you switch that into gunslinger land, it becomes a 2 downbeat move. What's a 2 downbeat move? Hey, we already talked about that. That's a triquetra. So each end of the poi is performing a triquetra in this orientation, and that syncs up with an isolation. Yeah? Cool. So, I hope that answered your question. I hope that answered somebody's question. Cool. How am I doing here? Oh, goodness gracious me, there are so many more questions. I'm sorry, I'm getting through these so slowly. My bad. Anyway. Oh, Kurt, people are asking how you did the super chat. If you can fill them in on that, I would be very appreciative. If memory serves, there should be like a little icon that looks like a $sign that you can click, and that will do that. Yay! Somebody figured it out! Gearhead90, you're the best! Thank you! Thank you so much. Gearhead90 asks, what inspired you to start teaching Poi? Oh, well, okay, so two answers to that. The thing that inspired me to start teaching poi through videos was Nick Woolsey, honestly. Seeing his tutorials and, well, there's a couple things. Nick Woolsey is the reason that I created videos the way that I did, where I was like talking to the camera and by extension the audience and everything, because at the time that was actually quite rare. Um, and when it actually took a while for me to think of the videos that I was doing, which just started off as video blogs, as tutorials. Like, people kept referring to them as tutorials. I'm like, no, I'm not teaching people how to do this stuff. I'm just showing the stuff that I've learned this week, you know? And they kind of turned it, they kind of mutated into tutorials over time, simply because in me explaining what I was doing, a lot of the times I would explain how I got there, how I was able to accomplish that move. But the thing that really did it, honestly, was the first few times that I traveled to teach workshops on my own. I think the first time was Atlanta, and I can't remember what the second one was, but I discovered I had kind of a big problem, which was that because my name was so associated with like super advanced tech poi at the time, people were nervous about signing up for my classes because they didn't know if I could teach beginner poi. So literally, I started creating tutorials to show people that I really could teach. And then they took off and became the most popular content on my channel, and I stopped doing the tech blog and just focused on teaching and everything. In terms of teaching in person, the thing that started that was when I first moved to the DC area 12 or 13 years ago. I encountered a gentleman who was running a fire troupe here by the name of Luke DeLu, and he had a relationship with a local dance studio, and he wanted to integrate flow arts into the offerings of that dance studio. And he asked me to teach poi there. So honestly, it was that somebody asked me to do it. He'd seen me just like passing on the stuff that I knew at Spin Gems and everything. And that got me started there. I taught at that studio for many years. And, you know, the in-person lessons, sometimes they happen and sometimes they don't. I've had a very, very difficult time being able to work consistently with studios because, you know, studio space is really at a premium here in DC, and there's a lot of demand for it. So, like, the prices for studios are really high, and people tend to scarf up the weeknight time, especially for them. So it's sometimes difficult to get it, but those are the things that inspired me. Nick Woolsey, being asked to do it, and, you know, necessity, because I had to show people that I knew how to teach in order to get people to show up for my workshops. So I hope that answers the question. Cool. I'm going to run back up here to see what other questions we have here. DRD, still not going to pronounce it. Actually, did I? Yeah, I got that one. Yeah, I want to get myself a pair of fire poi as well, but now I need to work for cash. I still do things from home. Weird question. What do you think of lucid dreaming and training within dreams? So I learned how to lucid dream as a teenager, and it resulted in something really, really weird. I almost never dream anymore. I don't know why that is. Like, you know, it could be that because I figured out how to take control of my dreams that I kind of stopped being given them. Or, you know, there's a part of me that suspects then that, like, whatever part of my brain was creating the content of my dreams and everything and trying to get content in front of me, once it realized that I would just, like, take the wheel and do whatever I wanted with it and everything, was just kind of like, okay, I won't bother them. So I tend to only dream now maybe once every 2 to 3 months. It doesn't happen very often at all. At least the dreams that I can remember having. I've never tried to train in a dream before. The closest I've ever gotten was, I lived in New York City before I moved to DC, and oh goodness, did I get a, yay, Kurt Hobbs, thank you. There's a button with a $sign in the comment bar, so open up those hearts and those wallets, people. Yay! Yay! Thank you so much. Let me finish up this question. I'll get right back to you, Kurt. Thank you so much for doing that twice now. That's amazing. Oh, I really appreciate that. But yeah, the closest I've ever gotten to that was when I was living in New York City about 14 years ago. I got really, really, really sick. I had a severe case of bronchitis, and I was like down with a fever for like 2 or 3 days, and somehow when like in the midst of that fever, when I was just like, you know, totally out of my mind, I saw in my head how to do behind the back waist straps, and I literally just, when I got better and the fever broke, I got up and I could do them, which has actually been really annoying because I don't know how to teach that move. Because I didn't have to like struggle through it and everything, I don't remember, I don't know what steps go into putting it together and everything, and it's actually something that has become a big problem for me in creating tutorials about it, because since I don't know how I learned it, I don't know how to teach other people how to do it. So, short answer is, if you can do it, that's awesome. If you want to teach it, though, it might cause some trouble. It did for me. It did for me. Cool, Kurt. So, any advice for split time opposite crossers? Split time opposite crossers. People can do those? Okay, let me see. Because like together opposites, no problem. I can do that. And like, you know, together opposites crossers is basically the same thing as split time, same direction. The timing is at least, because the poi are separated on either side, so you can just use the same timing to go back and forth that you could in split time, same direction. Which also, one of my favorite poi videos ever from Zan had him doing a thing where, let's see if I can do it here, he bounced the poi off of one knee in order to switch into together opposites. So split time opposites is a different story though, because what makes together opposites and split time same direction work is that the poi are apart side to side, right? So going split time opposites, oh my god, woo! I've never ever tried to do this before. Oh, I guess you could probably, oh, okay, I see what it is. So the timing is you have to make the turn when they're top bottom. Yeah, that's it. Oh god, that's weird. Give me 2 minutes to see if I can get this, and if not, I might just have to tell you. I think, oh my god. Oh, that's difficult. Oh god. Yeah, the timing is super weird because you have to do it when the poi are top and bottom, and that is so foreign to me. Oof. Oh, that's strange. That's so strange. Okay, so yeah, the secret here is that you make the turn happen when the poi are top-bottom instead of side-side, and that's how you get yourself through it. Oh, that's so weird. I've never done that before. One more time, and then moving on. Thanks, Kurt. You're definitely showing me some new stuff here. There we go. I'm like having to concentrate so hard to keep the timing on this right. That's wild. Goodness. Well, thanks for giving me my challenge for the evening there, Kurt. Wow. Whew. That was fun. All right. Poitravert says yes to both top 5 lists. And J.R. Mark Jr. says yes to both. Cool. Those are going to come this year then. Robert Chambers says, do you practice with music accompaniment? Yes. Every time. I'm trying to think of any time that I've practiced that hasn't involved musical accompaniment. Once in a while, I will listen to a podcast, but I prefer music for sure. Yeah. Steph, I'm sweating now. That was a challenge. Stephanie Raymer asked, pro tip, listen to Drex's beginner poi spinning tutorial series when you're going to sleep. His voice is super soothing, and you might learn a little through osmosis. Fair enough. I don't think of my voice as being that soothing, but I'm glad to hear it is. I'm a tenor, so like I always think that my voice sounds very like kind of brassy and sharp and everything, but your mileage may vary. I am also one of those people that hates the sound of my own voice, so you know, take that for what it's worth. Sunless Father Backwards says, I love the lucid dream question. Word. Brandon Hanlon says, what do you find to be the best practice for 2 poi, 1 hand? Figuring out the pinky side. Like, that is really your big challenge when working with 2 poi, 1 hand, is that you're used to having your thumb side in control of everything, and you have to learn how to do all the same stuff on your pinky side. And 9 times out of 10, if you're struggling with something in 2 poi, 1 hand, it's because your pinky end isn't doing its job, and you need to focus your attention on it in order to get it to do its job properly. And depending upon what the trick is and everything, that work will look very, very different. But yeah, it's focus on the pinky side for sure. J.R. Mark Jr. says, thanks for the reply. Glad it is not just me with the orbital exit. No, apparently it's a bunch of people on here. My credit card is not handy due to Super Chat. We'll catch up with it on Patreon later. Thank you. That is another way that you can support this channel, everybody. I do have a Patreon, and literally that is what pays my rent right now. So if you have the means and are interested in supporting this work, I highly recommend signing up for it, because I put out polls every once in a while asking people to vote on what content I will pursue in the future. And of course, you get early access to all my content. You get to check out all my videos at least a day before the rest of the world. So yeah. And also, too, if you sign up at the Flow Circle level, you get a new lesson, a personal lesson from me every single week. And generally speaking, it's like a drill that will help you master a particular thing. Yeah. So if you can, patreon.com/DrexFactor Poi. Pretty please. J.R. Mark Jr., lucid dreaming, yes. Sleep paralysis, no. Okay, then. Love and Kisses of Reva says, hey, Drex, I just tuned in and I subscribed to your channel. Yay! Your videos help me a lot with my poi flow, and I'd like to know, what made you get into poi spinning? Going to my first Burning Man back in 2006. I had never seen fire dancing before that, and on Playa, I saw my first fire jam was Wednesday night at Hookah Dome, and I can still remember individual fire dancers that I saw performing that night. That's how big an impact that had on me. And then, of course, on Saturday night, when the man burned, they had Fire Conclave as the opening act and everything. And it was one of those things that going to Burning Man was hugely transformative for me, and seeing Fire Conclave made me decide that I wanted to learn how to spin poi. I had a very difficult journey getting from there to actually learning to spin poi, but that is a totally separate story. But yeah, it was seeing Fire Conclave at Burning Man. That's what inspired me to do it. And honestly, that's why I started up a new conclave in DC, was because I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to have there be other kids in the audience that would see what we were doing and want to spin poi them or other tools themselves, you know? It was all about like taking the thing that had inspired me and using it to inspire others, you know? Trevor Barnhart, can we please see you do some hooping? No. No, ooh, hooray, trivia time. Trivia Time says, as someone who, first and foremost, thank you so much, Trivia Time, for the super chat. That is so very kind of you. I really appreciate it. As somebody who is into combining more dance with poi, your partner poi show with Morgan Howe on YouTube was a thrilling and expanding watch for me. Thank you. You are so welcome. It's a great story because Morgan was the person that I really went deep into partner poi on. We had a lot in common. We're very, very similar heights, which, like, finding a partner that is a similar height to you is like so important. It makes so many things so much easier. She also had a dance background, and she's one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life. Incredibly smart, and has a really analytical mind for things, just like I do. And we literally spent, I think, an entire summer going through each and every variation of slides that we could possibly come up with. And in the fall, we decided to start trying to choreograph something, which was difficult because we were living on opposite coasts at the time. I was still in DC, and she was in grad school in Southern California. So I would fly out to see her every 6 weeks, and we would get maybe like a day or an afternoon that we would work on it. So we wrote that piece in like 2-hour increments, and like I generally find that over the course of 2 hours, if you are really on top of it, you can like maybe choreograph a minute's worth of choreography. But because we were doing partner poi, because so much of it was just like so incredibly advanced, and like at the time, that was really like some of the most advanced stuff that was in the partner poi world. We would be lucky if we would get 10 to 20 seconds worth of content out of every one of those sessions. So it took us months to write that piece. And of course, like, we also had a lot of problems writing that piece. One thing that, like, in the recent Partner Poi series that I did, we tried to emphasize is that people should not think of Partner Poi as being like a dating service, and that you should not look at your romantic partners as Partner Poi partners and vice versa and everything, because like it's phenomenally difficult and it will lead to a lot of fights, and it led to so many fights between Morgan and I. So I'm glad that we finished that piece, but it was so difficult to write. I'm glad that we got good video of it. That's the biggest thing that I'm happy about. And that video is out there and can inspire other people. I feel very, very lucky that I've found another person here in DC that's really into Partner Poi, and we're working on getting caught up to where Morgan and I were when we stopped working together and split up and everything. And we're getting there. So hopefully there will be more content of that type to come in the future. It's actually really, really nice to be doing Partner Poi with somebody that I'm not dating, because at the end of the day, we get to, like, you know, just cool our jets and we're done with it and everything. It doesn't hang around. It's kind of awesome like that, getting to get a little space at the end of the day. But yes, I'm so glad you like that piece. For anybody who wants to watch it, it's called Stray Italian Greyhound, which it's named after the piece of music which Morgan chose. And it's a piece that we wrote that is a duet, Partner Poi and modern dance, basically we put together in it. And part of what makes it so cool is just that the Partner Poi moves at the time were like super advanced, and also that we're like applying our dance background into it. So we do things like lifts and the like, which, and I'm so mad about this, we figured out our first lift and we were so proud of it because literally nobody else was doing lifts at the time. And I got video of it in one of our rehearsals, and we were trying to decide whether we should like sit on it and like debut it to the world with our piece and everything and have everybody like, oh my God, lifts, this is now a thing with Partner Poi. And while we were sitting on it, Loop, the Partner Poi group from France, released a tech video where they had a completely different lift, but they beat us to the punch on putting out a lift, and it makes me so mad that we didn't put that video out the moment that we had it, because we would have been the first. But yeah, that was finding that lift was one of the more rewarding things that I think we did together as both dancers and poi spinners. So yeah, it was a very special experience. Oh my God, sorry, I'm running away with these stories here. Love and kisses forever. Hey Drex, I just tuned in and subscribed to your channel. Yay, thank you. Your videos help me a lot with my poi flow, and I'd like to know what made you get into poi spinning. I answered that one already. Yes. Trevor Barnhart, just a little hoop demo. No. So when my videos started popping, like, it was never my plan to become an internet personality. It happened completely by accident. And I realized fairly early on, as my videos were catching on and people started treating me differently when I traveled around and everything, that there was this element to it where you were kind of like always on stage in a certain respect, if that makes sense. And like I I wanted to have something that was just for me, something that wasn't about like people watching me or trying to crib from me or being like, oh, I want to see Drex flow or I want to see Drex do this trick and everything. Something that I could do in the privacy of my own home that nobody was ever going to see, that was just about me and the prop. And I chose Hoop to be it. So politely, I'm going to decline. No, I'm not going to spin Hoop for you because that's my thing for me. Um, but I do appreciate the asking, and I hope that I don't seem rude in saying that. But it was important to me to be able to have something that could be just for me. Um, and Hoop wound up being it. Um, I do believe there's one or two people in the flow world that have actually seen me hoop, and I'm told that there's a video of it floating around somewhere out there. So I don't know. Maybe do a YouTube search. Maybe one of them put that video up without me knowing. Who knows? JRMR Jr. Hoop, there it is. Bree says, hoop it up. No, and no. Sunless Father Backwards says, yep. Okay, I would like to see a bit of ISO hooping, aka double hoops. I'm terrible at ISO hooping. Like almost all the hooping that I do is on body, which I know is super bizarre given that like I'm a poi spinner. I never mastered the grip changes that you have to do with hoops in order to translate poi stuff to it. So I never really did a lot of it. Trevor Barnhart says, also Drex, I could use a little help with multitasking contact poi tricks. Interesting. P.S. You taught me almost all the poi tricks I know now. I have endless gratitude towards you. I hope to meet you one day. That'd be great. I don't know what you mean by multitasking contact poi tricks, though, I'm afraid. Can you give an example? Like, I literally just don't know what that means. And I'm happy to help out if I can. Bree says, Drex, you are my poi hero. Yay! I hope someday you are your poi hero. If you do a Pittsburgh workshop, I'd be there for it. That's good to know. Yeah, so places that I've looked at for doing workshops are, I'd love to do a Southeast tour through Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. I'd also like to do a tour up north through Minnesota and Wisconsin, and maybe as far south as Iowa. I'd have to think about it. But yeah, I could do Pittsburgh. I think at one point I was looking at Pittsburgh for a tour last year, but there weren't enough other cities around it that were going to take me to places that I wanted to go. So yeah, I think we can make that happen. I think we can make that happen. Sunless Father Backwards says, oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving me an answer. You're so welcome. As you can see, I'm going through all the questions here. Much to, I'm sure, the annoyance of a lot of people watching. Sorry it's taking me so long to get around to everybody here. If you want to get your question up in the queue, you can always use the super chat function, just saying. JRMR Jr. says, so I think I just realized that Gunslinger and 2.1 hand are essentially the same thing. Yes, they're exactly the same thing. And every once in a while, people will ask me why I don't do more 3 or 4 poi stuff. And my answer is, I do. I just call them gunslingers. It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. The period of the revolution is / can be faster. Yes. Also asks, or am I off base there? No, you're 100% there. A gunslinger is literally just a short meteor. It's literally just shorthand for a short meteor. You're totally on track there. Devin Hegger says, thanks Drex, you are doing great. Yay, thank you. Jeremiah Jr. says, while I'm not handy, but I've gone and taken care of it through Patreon. Yay! Up my level a bit. Fantastic! Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much. Seriously, Patreon has been my life raft through all of this, because so many people I know are like freaking out about lost gigs and lost events and everything, and I'm so lucky to have my supporters on Patreon because, like, seriously, without them, I wouldn't be able to pay rent this month, and it means the world to me that y'all are out there. So thank you so much. Justin Blanchard, what are your pointers for orbitals? Watched a video you did about them for doing same time opposite. Whoa. Same time opposite to get into them, like thread the needle. I believe that's how you put it. Not for orbitals, but for butterfloops. Boy. Same time opposite to get into orbitals? Have I done that? I don't know that I've done that. So it really kind of a secret here is I might have done a tech blog on that at some point, and I don't remember now. I've forgotten most of the stuff that I did in my tech blogs back in the day, which is really embarrassing. I've actually had moments where people have come up to me at festivals and like showed me tricks that I did a video on years ago. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Where'd you come up with the idea for that? And they're just kind of like, from you did this trick. And not only will I not remember it, I won't be able to do the damn trick. Yeah, super embarrassing, but I have no idea how to get into an orbital from split time, from same time opposites. I'm baffled by this. I'm sorry, I don't remember this at all. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know what that looks like. The closest I could imagine would be to get into a butterfloop and change the direction of one of the poi in order to get into an orbital. I know for a fact that I've never done that. Can you leave me more details in the chat? I'm struggling to wrap my head around that one. Kurt Hobbs says, whoa. That's my bad. You progressed with that move faster in 2 minutes than I have in 2 weeks. I've got a few years under my belt at this. And also, I don't know, there's just weird shit I'll try for the sake of it every once in a while, and sometimes it'll lead to a breakthrough. So I'm really glad that I was able to do that and not embarrass myself in the process. Thank you for the challenge, though, Kurt. That actually, it's funny because every once in a while I will find something that like I should have done a while ago and I didn't. And I have to like fill in the pieces and everything, and I'm just really happy that I was able to do that on camera in front of everybody and not make a complete ass of myself in the process. So thanks for the challenge. Justin Blanchard says, I get it occasionally, but feel it's more luck and not technique to practice. It's partially luck. I assume that you're talking about that orbitals exit because that's been a very popular topic of conversation here. Put your hands together, slow it down, turn it into a hyperloop. That is the most reliable way that you can do it. Sam S. says, hi there. Hi, Sam. I just got my first poi today and started learning. Fantastic. Welcome to the world. Oh, shoot. I've got another super chat from Carrot Smith. Thank you so much. Here, I'm going to finish this comment, and I'll come right back down to you, Carrot. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I'm having a really hard time with plane control. I can get it for a few seconds and then just lose it. Any tips to avoid this? Yes. As I was saying earlier, I really, really think that when people are starting off with poi, they should be starting off with tricks that are extensions of their arms. Both extensions and flowers and pendulums. Why? Because your arms intuitively know where they are supposed to go. And if the poi become extensions of your arms, it's going to make your life so much easier. I really actually think that we do a disservice to beginners by having them start on like butterflies and 3D leaves and everything, because neither one of these moves is particularly intuitive on their own, and they teach us bad habits. Because if you start off with butterflies and leaves, then you're starting off in a place where you're expecting to control the poi from your hands and wrist. And then when you do move on to doing flowers and the like, you're inevitably doing this as you start off. Whereas if you just start by, getting down your extensions and then adding petals to them and everything, they feel much more intuitive. And even better than that, you'll be able to keep your planes clean. So, start with extensions and flowers. That is my advice to you. Okay, cool. So, I'm going to jump down to that super chat. Karen, thank you again so much. Hey Drex, love your work and appreciate your positive contribution to this community. Keep it up. I will. Thank you so much, Karen. And again, thank you so much for the super chat. Like, y'all are awesome, and this keeps food on my table or in my refrigerator, as might be currently the case. And especially just given how crazy the world is right now and everything, it means so much to to have that help and everything. Thank you so much. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, you and everybody else who's given a super chat tonight and will give a super chat tonight. And of course, anybody that goes and signs up for my Patreon, seriously, you all are amazing, and I'm so lucky to have you. All right, running back up top here. The name I can't pronounce. Drex, it's been awesome. I want to still be here, but I also need to sleep a bit. You're very intelligent, man. Oh, thank you. Wish you happiness and thanks a lot. Take care. You too, and have a good night. I'm sorry I didn't get to that sooner. You've got to be asleep by now. My bad. J.R. Mark Jr. Need tutorial on how to do partner poi while maintaining 6 feet of social distancing. Tunneling. That would be the way to do it. Either that or you just... So because we've been working on partner poi, like Tashi and I have just kind of made the decision that we're going to be like a closed loop. So neither one of us, we're both putting, basically deciding not to have any close contact with people outside of our immediate circle. So like she's not having any close contact with anybody who doesn't live in her house. And I don't live with anybody, so I haven't had close contact with anybody in almost 2 weeks. And we've still gotten together and done partner poi and just kind of been all like, you know, neither one of us is going to have contact with other people, so it's a closed loop and we can't infect anybody else, you know? So if you have somebody that you want to work with on partner poi during all of this, make it a closed loop. Just make the commitment that you're not going to have close contact with anybody else, and that'll work. And as you guys can hear, I'm starting to go a little bit hoarse. So I think I'm probably going to cut this off in about another 10 or 15 minutes to save my voice. I am sorry, and I hope that's okay. Santiago Lascano says, "Hi Drex, any tip on behind the back waist straps?" Were you here for the story on how I learned how to do that when I had a fever, so I don't know how I learned it. I can do behind the back, weave back and forwards, but my arms get tangled with waist straps. So the behind the back waist strap is basically like you're swirling one hand around the other with the hand reaching out from behind your back. So think of it as like your right hand's going to go around your left. Pull both your hands over the other side. Your left hand goes around your right. Pull to the side. Right goes around the left. Pull to the side. Left goes around the right. I'll show you that both from the front and from the back. From the front. So right goes around. Left goes around. Right goes around. Left goes around. So on and so forth, right? And from the back, like so. The thing about the behind the back waist strap is, to me, it doesn't actually feel very much like doing a behind the back weave. And I don't know if it's just because of the way I learned it or what, but yeah, think of that kind of swirling your hands around each other, if that helps. Brett G says, "Oh, did I get another super chat? I did! Gearhead90, thank you so much. Thank you so much." Gearhead90 says, through your poi journey, what has been the hardest trick for you to learn? This one, actually. So, gunslingers as a whole were incredibly difficult. But the one that was most difficult for me to learn, I've been using lotion on my hands to try and moisturize them because I've been washing them so much, and it's making gunslingers real difficult. Oh, that is probably not helping. Come on. These are still touch and go for me. Hang on 1 second. Again, I love having the ability to edit, so I'm not making an ass of myself on my video. Okay, so what is that? Those are Gunslinger in-spin flowers, and together opposites. I worked to get that trick down, I kid you not, for 1 year and 3 months. It's the longest I've ever worked at getting a single trick. It's the single hardest thing I've ever nailed. And it is still clearly touch and go, and it is not integrated into flow, but at the least I can do it. So I take some pride in that. And Gearhead90, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Goodness, there's still so many questions here. I'm going to try and zip through as many of these as I possibly can. As you all can hear, I'm starting to lose my voice here. So I do apologize if anybody feels like I'm not giving them an appropriate amount of attention here and everything, but I also don't want to lose my voice entirely tonight. Let's see here. Brett G asks, can you help with tape deck toroids? Oh goodness, I haven't done tape deck toroids in the longest time. Thing to remember about tape deck toroids is that, like, and really any toroid for that matter, is we're used to thinking of poi movement in 3 dimensions as being based around stalls. That is points where the poi come to stop and you're switching out of it, right? Toroids work differently. Toroids work with the kind of momentum of the poi, and you basically almost have to relearn how to work with that. So as the poi is going away from me here, I slide it around in front of me, and then as it's coming around in front of me, I'm going to continue the movement to let it drop into the other side. So think that when you're doing these tape deck toroids, really what you're doing is you're taking a motion that already exists and just redirecting it. So it's going away from you on top, drag it around, and then pull it around so it feels like it's going reverse on the other side. Push it away from you on the bottom, and pull it up going forwards, yeah? So forwards buzzsaw, push it away on top, bring it into reverse buzzsaw, push it away on bottom, yeah? It takes a lot of practice to get that down. Not only does it take a lot of practice to get that down, even when you get it down, it still feels really profoundly unnatural. There's a reason why toroids never really caught on, and it's, well, I wouldn't say never really caught on, but why they're so rarely performed. Because it requires the poi to move so differently from what we normally train people to do, and the momentum is just so weird that, like, it's very, very difficult for people to do them cleanly, number one. And also, it's almost like you have to completely rethink how the poi move in 3 dimensions. And, you know, I've been doing toroids for years, and I will still have moments where I, like, bust something out that's 3-dimensional and be like, oh, was that a toroid? And discover, no, there was actually a stall in that. And then I try to do it as a toroid, and it, like, takes me the better part of 20 minutes just to work out what that looks like and everything. So, yeah, you have to train it. It's really difficult, but you have to train it. I do encourage you to train it, though, because I would love to see more people out there doing toroids. I want to see really, really clean toroids out there. There's a guy who lives in the DC area named Aric, who used to be a part of the poi community here, and he had these super clean toroids. I've never seen anybody else do them as cleanly as he did, and I would love to see more of that out there. So I encourage you, do so. Matthew, our friend from Poland here, says, any tips for getting started with polyrhythm hybrids? Yes. Here's an exercise for everybody that wants to get into polyrhythm hybrids. Start off with your poi spinning around and choose one hand that's going to spin twice as fast as the other. And you're going to count off 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 for every one beat that the other poi gets in. The reason being that it feels profoundly strange and unnatural to spin them in that fashion, and you want to get used to that. Oh, did I get another super chat? From Earth? Mariah Sven, thank you so much. Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, and a lovely little pear animation there. That's very cute. I like it. Thank you so much, Mariah. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. Cool. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm really having problems here. I am gonna try and see if I can wrap this up by quarter till here, just because my throat's really starting to bother me. Stephanie Raymer, I respect you for not wanting to hoop demo for us. Thank you, Stephanie. I really appreciate that. It's important, especially for people who spend most of their lives in the public eye, to have something just for them that they can escape to. I agree. Thank you for understanding. Stephanie Raymer says, what's the first song you spun to? Overall, I don't have the slightest idea. Today, The first song that I spun to was, it's a Party Nails song, and it is Solid Gold. It's a collaboration that she did on an EP called The Battle Tapes, which I'm really, really loving jamming out to that right now. It's really good. Poitravert, hopefully we can get you up to Canada for some poi classes. I would love to come up to Canada. I would love to. Maybe next year. Stephanie Raymer says, also, any chance of a virtual class through Zoom or some other group video chat platform? I live in a very small town in rural Kansas, so finding an in-person class is when all this COVID crap is over. Maybe. So, maybe. I don't know whether you mean like with like two-way video and everything. I've not had terribly good luck with like Skype classes simply because I can never guarantee what the camera's like on the other person's end, and very frequently the angles are really messed up and I can't see what they're doing, and it really limits my ability to help them out. But yeah, I'd be willing to give it a shot, especially now because we're on lockdown and everything. Or, you know, I could deliver a lesson via YouTube Live like this and everything. Rather than just doing a Q&A, I could have a structured lesson in mind and teach like that. What do you all think of that? Let me know down in the chat here if you'd be down for that. Trevor Barnard, multitasking contract poi tricks, using both hands to do independent tricks at the same time. For example, doing a contact roll in one hand and a contact roll in the other hand. I have trouble doing that too. So much so that I'm not even going to bother trying right now because I've only managed to do it once or twice. I don't have good advice for this aside from practice. I mean, you know, it's one of those things that... Actually, no, wait, I do have one multitasking drill that I do. Oh my god, it took so much practice to get this down, too, which I still always sometimes do it, is to try and go through like that. That would be very clean. I'll try that again here. Come on, baby. Wow, that one wasn't a complete disaster. I'll take it. Oh goodness, did somebody else leave me a super chat? Yes, they did. Hooray! Yeah, multitasking contact poi is difficult, and it takes practice, and you have to be so comfortable with doing each individual contact poi trick that you can just jam through it without having to think about it. So what I would say is practice each individual hand to the point where you could do it in your sleep, and then start putting the two of them together, yeah? Cool. Who did... Gearhead90 gave me another super chat. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this, Drex. I'm happy to support people doing what they love. Stay safe out there. I gotta go. Thank you so much. Have a great night, Gearhead90. Thank you so much for your contributions here. Yeah, it means the world to me to have you all out there, and knowing that what I'm doing means this much to you. It's so important. It's fantastic. Goodness gracious me. Justin Blanchard. More details for the orbital. It was an older video. I may be misspeaking at the same time opposite. Oh God, I'm sorry. I just don't remember this one. Sam S. says, thank you. I 100% remember you saying you start into it in front of you while playing, turning it into buzzsaw playing. Leads me to another question. How do you get around the variable learning people get and calling the same moves, timing, and directions, etc., the wrong name? What is your resource to what is correct? Unfortunately, there isn't any one resource at this point. And you gotta... Video over internet has been such an amazing tool for like democratizing all that information, because there were misunderstandings all the time back when we were only talking via text and everything. Timing and direction was one of those things that was relatively easy to disseminate because it's really intuitive. But like, and there are still cases where in different parts of the world, different tricks will be referred to as different things. For example, what we call crossers in the United States are called huggies in both Australia and in Europe. And what they call crossers are what we call meltdowns. So to a certain extent, we never did get around it. In a lot of cases, just like people teaching things online led to specific nomenclature. Um, you know, one of my first tech blogs was on 1.5s, which at the time, everybody was calling them 1.5s, but there was no easy way to put a fraction symbol in the title, the little title box of a YouTube video. So instead, we would write it out as 1.5. Now they're called 1.5s literally just because there was no way to put a fraction cleanly into the title of a YouTube video. So it's, I think the way we got around it, honestly, was just that internet video took over things. Then I think that's been the closest thing to a way to democratize all of it that we can come up with. Yeah. Coffees and tattoos. I hurt my back so bad trying to learn that one. Especially behind the back stuff, like my shoulders hurt for days afterwards. I do not like. Mariah Sven, I've never heard of Patreon before, but I'm going to figure it out tonight. Fantastic. I'm on your 5th beginner video, I believe, the one with Tic Tacs. I'm having a blast. I want to thank you and support you. Thank you so much, Mariah. I'm so glad that these videos are helping you out. That makes me feel really good. Santiago Lascana. Wow, I did it. Thank you so much, Drex. Love from Argentina. Love from DC, Santiago. Thank you. Lexi Nichelle, heading to Patreon to show some love. I'm essential. I got your back. Thank you so much, Lexi. Oh, that means so much to me. Yay. Coffee and tattoos. Patreon is rad. Lots of unusual and neat creators. Yes, there are. There are a lot of creators that I support on there. Oh, Brandon Hamlin is in there with a super chat. Oh, cool. Did 2 super chats. Wow, Brandon, thank you so much. Where is the best place to learn more about VTG? There's a website for it where you can download a lot of materials. I would also look up my own video, VTG Explained, which explains a lot of the basic information, and I do a very, very terrible demonstration of some of the potential for transitions that you can do with it and everything. I didn't do a very good job writing the tail end of that video, and I kind of wish I could go back and redo it now. But a lot of the basic info, especially with the glyphs mean and everything, are all in there. So yeah, that either both the VTG website as well as my own video on VTG Explained, I would say are the best places to go. Thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, that means so much to me. Thank you. You've been awesome on this. Thank you. Goodness. Oh, you also said above, structured live teaching would be awesome. Okay. And Lexi said I would try an online class. A lot of people are down for that. Okay. I might do a live stream that is a class next time then. Interesting. That could be cool. Christina Port says, hi Drex, I started spinning in January and just wanted to say thank you so much for your tutorials. You make learning Poi super fun and I really appreciate all your work. I'd be down for online classes. Cool. It looks like that is a that is an idea that a lot of people are on board with. So I am too. Kurt Hobbs, please don't wait so long to do another live stream. I won't, I promise. If not monthly, I will try and do one every other week. Yeah, I can definitely do that for y'all. Hopefully next time I'll have a better camera setup. I actually wanted to run this off of my nice camera and discovered I didn't have the right cable for it. And of course, with things being like they are, it's not like I can go out to the store and buy one. So I'll hopefully have a better camera next time to run all this off of and everything. Indigo Moon 666 says, I'd like structured lessons. Also, do you ever plan on reorganizing the vids on YouTube? I've had a hard time going in order. Lastly, I've been giving my neighbors Poi shows at 2 a.m. due to lockdown. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Kind of. So I have playlists for some of them. It doesn't help that in a lot of cases I didn't have a plan for the way that I was creating videos. The playlists right now are the best way to get through those videos that I did have a plan for. I don't know. I'd have to think a bit about it, about how I would want to go back and reorganize some of them. But a lot of the videos that I've done in the past 2 years have been organized into more specific playlists that I think are going to be more up your alley. So I would say go and look through those, and I can give some thought to how I might reorganize the videos that are on there right now. To be honest with you, the thing that I'm kind of more focused on right now is I think that I'm actually going to do a new beginner course that is centered around the techniques that I'm trying to teach through these COVID videos. but like doing it completely the way that I think it ought to be done. There are some things that I've stuck into the COVID video structure that is more about like knowing that I just have to have this trick in there and everything. And I would really like to just approach it from being like, okay, so I'm going to build you up step by step by step. And it's not about when you get down a 3-beat weave. It is about giving you control, and it is about making sure that you learn the right technique right from the drop. And we're going to just build you up piece by piece, you know? I don't know if there's an audience out there for that, but it's kind of, it's something that I would like to try and teach. So we will see if I get around to it while we're in the middle of this here, yeah? Cool, and I think I've reached the end of comments here. Back to Matthew. In Poland, for example, we say Shakira for corkscrew. I like that. It also helps that I really like Shakira, so I like Shakira for corkscrew. That's good, I like it. And Hypersaw for orbital. Hypersaw, huh? Yeah, Nick Woolsey at one point tried to get people calling it super duper uber loops, and I am so glad that that did not catch on. I mean, having a name that long, it just seems like, why would you do that? But yeah. Oh, cool. People are registering support for the series that I put out. Okay, cool. I might start trying to put together planning on that then, because if there's interest out there for it, like I think that the way that we teach Poi right now has been so completely based around a school of thought that is now decades old, and I think that given the movement vocabulary of Poi as we have it right now, that it's better to start people in a way that's going to build up good habits for the future, and I think that would be important. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to start wrapping things up here. Justin Blanchard says, look forward to perhaps an orbital video tutorial since it's so popular. Heading out, essential medic here and haven't felt well. Oh my goodness, I did not know that. Thank you so much for your service. Like, thank you so much for being out there and for keeping all of us safe. I hope that you get through this and stay healthy and everything. Thank you for being on this this live chat and everything. It really means a lot. No COVID symptoms, but you stay safe in DC. I'm working on it. You stay safe too, wherever you are. Brandon Hanlon, I'm all about beginner teachings. Excellent. Trevor Barnard, thanks for everything, Drex, and thanks for doing this. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, both to save my voice, as well as it seems like several people have had to head to bed and everything. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for your amazing questions. Thank you to everybody that contributed with a super chat or that went and signed up on Patreon while I've been doing this and everything. That support now more than ever really means the world to me. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting me and my channel. And of course, also thank you for doing the work and bringing something into your life that like adds all the things that flow does, you know? I'm really, really grateful that I've got Poi in my world right now because it gives me something I can do every day that keeps my body and brain active. So thank you one and all for making that commitment yourselves and for keeping it in your lives through all this, yeah? All right. And on that note, I am going to go give my voice a rest at this point. Have a good night, one and all, and I promise I will do another one of these soon, yeah? All right. Stay safe out there, everybody. Practice social distancing. Make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure that all of you are still out there for the next time that I do this, okay? Awesome. All right. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you all soon, okay? Good night.